One time.
The wine industry has sommeliers. Coffee has cuppers, people who can tell the difference between types of coffee, where it was grown, how it was roasted. Cheese has mongers. You've created a process for dissecting and grading cannabis, and you call it interpening. So tell us more about interpening, this process that you've helped create.
So what we're doing is we're interpreting terpenes. Interpening does grade cannabis quality. It's a part of the sommelier process of dissecting cannabis. But what interpening also does, and maybe more importantly, is interpreting the terpenes, like I said. And this is because the terpenes produce smells, and these smells are very detectable, and these detectable smells have a pharmacology. And so interpening is beyond necessary because we are suffering from the strain name dilemma.
Sure.
In Colorado, we have 250 types of Blue Dream because 249 of them aren't Blue Dream. This is a black market industry that has exploded with zero regulation on these variety types that people just come up with names for, which I'm guilty of myself. Back in 2009, before cannabis was regulated and I was buying pounds off the street to retail at the dispensary, half the time the pounds didn't have a name. So we would just call it AK-47 or Blue Dream. And then you get a seed and then you think you really have Blue Dream and it's further front, you know?
Sure.
So instead of saying, shop for this strain name, because you'll never get what you think you're shopping for, or there's a high chance that you won't currently. We teach people the tools to see and smell how cannabis will affect you psychotropically, and also if it's acceptable enough to ingest in the first place.
And so by looking at it, by smelling it, by examining it, you can tell something's true strain.
Sure. So as you can see here, we have like very different bud structures, super dense and tight, kind of long and fluffy in terms of how the plant is built. And so we have these, this is one of our interpening tools out of many that we have, but it's a tool where if you place a bud on this card, you measure where in your nose you smell the smell. The bud structure and the pistil structure, which will gauge the variety type effect. We also teach people how to test for the acceptable qualities and the highest qualities, the unacceptable visual characteristics, of the smells, and then what you're smelling and what those smells mean when you smoke them. Those smells have a pharmacy. So when you smell this smell, expect this effect. Forget the strain name. The strain name is the thing that is the most least important piece of information in your shopping experience, which is really backwards right now. Everybody shops for this one strain that they've heard of, Girl Scout cookies.
Sure.
And then the other thing people shop for is THC, high THC percentages.
Potency, yeah.
Our community, our smokers, our adult use consumers, and our patients need to know THC doesn't really mean what you think it means. It doesn't mean it's completely bioavailable. So there's so much to learn about cannabis. We had to start an entire institution.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, tell me this. Interpening, I agree that we need something like this, especially as more states come online and this becomes its own legitimate multi-billion-dollar industry. But why do you think we need interpening? Why do we need sommeliers for cannabis specifically?
Easy answer. We have required lab testing in Colorado, but none of our lab testing tests for quality. So you're testing for potency and you're testing for all the types of microbials that don't matter. We don't test for any of the microbials that do matter that we see on cannabis. And at the end of the day, your potency, means a lot to do with the terpenes, which we don't test for, only the THC. And so there's a lot of horrible product out there. I went shopping for some for my class last night, and I went to this dispensary and I gave this bud tender a private interpening because all of their wholesale product that they bought, this one was 6 months old. This one is unflushed. This one is hermaphroditic. This one, has this. And what are you, a cannabis patient? Do you have PTSD? I hate to break it to you, but so many of these variety types, sometimes it's the terpenes in there that is responsible for giving people paranoia. And so I would hate to advise a patient on a strain they should smoke based off of its name when I know that the next state over, it will be a different plant due to cannabis morphology,
Sure.
and that we have a strain name dilemma. So if you want to either help a patient or an adult use consumer, make sure that they're going to have the type of experience that they're looking for, and also make sure that the cannabis that they're going to consume is appropriate and acceptable. There's a skill set for that, and it's interpening. And it's what currently doesn't exist in our industry. And so we give vocabulary and skill set to people who are trying to help people, serve people.
And I like that you also give it to people, the everyman.
Yeah.
You'll let anybody pay for your class and come study it.
Oh, well, of course.
If they're customers or if they're professionals, and I think that part's fun because I mentioned in the intro I was up in Mendocino and Humboldt this last week, and part of that was a trip through the Russian River. Had to see some of my favorite Pinot Noirs and Chardonnays, and talking to these folks in tasting rooms, talking to the fans who just go to the Russian River to taste a couple times a year, head up 2 hours north of San Francisco, and they're passionate about it. And truth is there is a parallel between wine and cannabis here. The people are passionate about it. They want to know more about it, and it's great that you're teaching them part of the process, so they can take that pamphlet at home. I know you gave me one. I pull it out from time to time, even though I don't use a lot of flour. But yeah.
Right on. Cool. Thanks.